biohacking, performance, mastery, mindset. This is a show about getting better every single day. The Hack Life with Joel Levin. Welcome to the show. All right, hey, it's Joel from The Hack Life, and I'm here with my good buddy, Steve Vierra. I have my Corona mask on to protect me, but I'm going to take it off because it's just ridiculous. Steve, first of all, I want to thank you for meeting me during this crazy time we're in of hysteria because, you know, I've reached out to a lot of people and no one wants to meet up with me. And I'm like, let's meet up. Come on. Like, you know, I'm not worried about this Corona thing. And you're like one of the only ones who's like, yes, let's meet up. I'm down. And not only did you say I'm down, but you're like, this Corona is a hoax. So welcome to the show. And tell me, first of all, let's start it off. Why is Corona a hoax to you? You've been sending me a lot of stuff. Joel, read this about viruses, read this, look at this guy's article. Some of the things you sent me like an hour long, so I haven't got to all of them, but some of them I have. So yeah, tell me, what's your opinion, or what do you, you're a big health and fitness guy.
Oh man, what do we know about viruses? Is kind of what we've been taught as you went to your pediatrician as a kid and got your vaccines, and what at least that's where I come from, right? I took like life science in high school. It's only biology I had, but I've researched a lot of things since in dealing with health and the just what a virus is, what it might not be. They're not 100% sure in a lot of things, and just the craziness of how this all came out and how like death tolls keep changing, or now they're told to make, if it's Corona-like, COVID-like symptoms, let's let it say that they died of COVID.
Yeah. And,
other deaths have gone down. I mean, 7 to 10,000 people die every day in the United States. I mean, I don't know if people really realize that. That's from everything, right? That's number one is like heart disease and cancer. And then number three is, iatrogenic is basically doctor-related death. Basically, normal use of prescription drugs, normal going to the hospital, like 800 people die every day of that stuff, right? So people don't really realize that. I mean, once you start putting something in the media or the limelight, then people realize, oh my gosh, right? And then so whatever you put in the limelight, we've had the anthrax scare years ago, all kinds of different viruses that were supposed to come in and take over everything, that the media, like the Zika virus back down in Texas that came out and was just like a big scare, and then it just disappeared, right? The SARS epidemic. So these things, if there are viruses or if they're not, I mean, we don't need to discuss it here, but these things die out. And,
yeah.
Or if they do, and it's basically based on our own immune systems, our own health. So to have, we're just going way overboard by closing everything down, I think. I mean, we're going to ruin the middle class. People are going to be, this is going to affect their lives much more than I think the deaths were, right? And if you're unhealthy, I mean, if you feel like you might be a person who gets this, I get it, then protect yourself.
Yeah.
Protect yourself. I get it, but I'm not worried because I'm not. I mean, through all these scares, I'm not worried. I know what health's all about, and it doesn't come from a doctor. It comes from within. We make ourselves healthy. You make yourself healthy. You got to be responsible for your health. Nobody else. And if you're scared because of something, then you're not healthy. People talk about, cancer and worried about cancer and heart disease and stuff. And what I try to tell people is, okay, pretend right now you go and you get your cancer diagnosis. What would you do? What are you going to do? You're going to hopefully change your diet. You're going to change your lifestyle, right? I mean, I assume. You may hopefully start researching more. You're going to, and you're going to, I hope you're going to research more, not just go to what the medical doctors say to take this, this, and this, and this. I mean, that's a prescription for unhealthiness, in my opinion, and through everything I've read and researched. I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years, so.
Yeah.
I just don't, just start, if I'm always, people worried about, do you worry about this? No, I live cancer-free my life is, if I just do anti-cancer stuff. That's just what life is.
So for you, it's just another virus. It's just like you could get sick from the flu. You could get sick from Corona. If you're immunocompromised and you're not in a healthy, vibrant state, then you're going to be susceptible to this coronavirus. But it's no different really than any other virus.
It's no different than any kind of a diseased body.
Right.
A body it has disease in it because of unhealthiness.
Now, do you think do you think the corona, though, when you say hoaxed, are you thinking like this is man-made or that this was created, or do you think there could, I mean, there's so many conspiracy theories out there. I try not to get too involved in them because it just makes my head spin. And then I almost feel like it causes me to worry and doubt more. And I kind of just go back to, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I think there could be I think some of these conspiracies could be real. I don't know. But then I just really go back to, I have to, it's a virus, whatever it is, as long as I'm healthy, then I'm good. So I just keep going back to that. But do you see anything, is there anything from what you're reading, and I know you're very well read, and there's a lot of sources that you seek out, anything as far as like hoax, do you think this could be, a conspiracy theory or some kind of
I'm not an expert, right? I don't want to claim I'm it because they're going to, people, I'm not an expert, but I love to research. I love to read, especially when it goes to health, right?
Yeah.
And so it's overblown, whatever it is, in my opinion, because of what we just talked about, right? And I've read a lot of stuff that, talk about germ theory and, how we may have gotten it wrong. And it's interesting, right? It may not be 100%. I don't know, but I keep researching. But what it has led me to, which I do like, because in college I was a history minor. I love history, right? It's made me read some stuff. And in fact, I ordered a book and I read some stuff on the Black Plague, right, from the 1300s, right? It was a plague caused by a disease from fleas, the rats that carried the fleas, and it wiped out half the population almost of the earth, right? In some places more, in some places less. Like in some places in England, it wiped out 80% of some towns. Where down in the southern, like Italy and stuff, it didn't wipe out as many. So it seems to be maybe have to do with latitude there, but. And I was reading some stuff about it. It's pretty fascinating. That's why I ordered the books. I want to get more into it. What's the book called, by the way? In case other people want to read it. It's about it's on Amazon. It's about the Black Plague. It's basically I don't know if that's the story of the Black Plague.
All right, we'll figure it out later and we'll throw it in the show notes.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Cool.
It's supposed to be almost like a thriller novel, the way it reads. The guy did a lot of research, and basically he's, the synopsis is that he's come to, it seems like it may have been more atmosphere related, because this is a time when some comets came through our atmosphere, maybe even hit the earth, and it would cause atmosphere issues, which is poison, right? They talk about water boiling, fish coming to the surface of water boiling. Well, some disease in a flea isn't going to cause that.
Yeah.
Right? And these are eyewitness accounts, supposedly. So it would make sense more atmosphere related, which would affect a lot more people. Yeah, you're going to affect. And if you're not, again, let's go back down to the root. If those people, whoever were not healthy enough to withstand whatever happened, they died off. Yeah. There was a lot of people. But there's still, everybody didn't die. We still had a good group of people that survived. It's like any time. It has to go back. Everybody's not going to get afflicted with everything. And I know the healthier people are definitely not going to be. Who's passing away right now? It's people who generally seem to have other conditions, right? They already had heart disease or have lung issues or whatever. Those are people, because they're not healthy.
I want to say, too, and I don't know if this stat is correct, but I want to say I heard like people in Italy that were dying, the average age was like 78.8 or 79 or something like that. The average age in Italy in general was 80. So it was like that. Now, again, maybe my facts were wrong. Maybe, I don't want to get it too much into this. Yeah, maybe I read the wrong article, but I heard that stat and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Like, these facts, these stats, it's all put in context. Like you said, people, they were naturally going to die anyways, most likely.
Maybe this year,
right? From the flu.
From something else.
Whatever.
Anything.
From anything.
It's just, they're just, and not everybody who's over 80 is going to pass away, because some are healthier. I mean, you got the 106-year-old, lady who's eating nothing but cheese, Italy, eating nothing but cheese and coffee and just doing fine. And, there's factors there. It's not all what she's eating. That's a lot of these places. Not all food is probably just one of the, it's definitely not one of the most important things. Really? I think for health. Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Because I would think food is one of the most healthiest things.
Unhealthy or healthy?
One of the healthiest things you could do.
Well, obviously,
like I think about for my kids and stuff. I think if I can control, because I just go back to the gut being one of the root pieces of the immune system. Like 80% of our immune system is in the gut. I've heard that stat before. So I always think of like, if I can give them a healthy environment free of EMFs and I can give them healthy, good food and a loving, nourishing environment. Like if I can try to do those three things, they're going to be fine.
It's part of it, of course, but it doesn't account for everything when I study these blue zones. It's not about what they only eat, right? I mean,
But you're right, because like an Italian, they could eat gelato and stuff, and we would, oh no, you can't eat gelato. Like that's milk, and that people have milk allergies. But like you said, they do fine. They're fine.
Yeah, I mean, the factors are probably pretty immense, really. I mean, what kind of, how's their air in that certain area, right? That what you breathe in a lot of air. You're drinking a lot of water. So how's their water? What kind of water are they drinking? And then, with Italy, for example, compared to some northern climates, is you have a lower latitude, you're getting a lot more sun. Vitamin D is huge. I mean, sun is, I think, one of the most important. Sun and water are probably two of the most important things you could do for your body.
Okay.
Right. You could fast. People fast. I fast, and I feel fine. And that's no food, and I'm still doing fine. And a lot of people have, and they've fasted for over, I don't know what the length of time is the longest, but 200 days.
Yeah.
I've read, and yeah, they may lose weight or whatever, but they aren't dead. Right. And I'm not going to fast for 100 days to find out, but I fast for 1 to 2, 3, 4 days pretty often. And
wow.
It's just, so that just shows you don't just need, it's not food all the time.
Yeah.
It's your environment. Again, breathing, water, sunlight. And then, of course, if you're putting stuff on you, toxins and stuff, right? I mean, everything contains, your skin is very absorbable. It contains anything that you put on you most likely can contain a toxin.
Right.
You just have to look at the ingredients, which most people don't, and look at what some of these things are made of. And when you put it on you, it goes into your skin. So, and then it could be vice versa. Perhaps you're putting something healthy on you that's being absorbed.
Yeah. So something you said earlier is what I want to touch back on. You said, yeah, I've been doing this for 30 years, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show. You're coming up 50.7 years old, 50.7, almost 51, and you look amazing. And so I want to talk. Thanks. I want people to understand this. Like, yeah, you've been studying health and fitness for 30 years. Like, how did you get involved in it? What was like the turning point? Do you remember? Yeah.
Well, I like to come across as, I'm no different than anybody else. We're all human. I don't do anything nobody else can do. That's come out right. Yeah. Everybody else could do what I do. It's right. As a kid, I was, my dinner consisted of Kentucky Fried Chicken or McDonald's most of the time. Well, that's where my mom took me, and that's what it was in the 70s, right? And I loved it, of course. And then, I never gained weight. I was pretty active as a kid, like most kids were back then. And then I started playing baseball, and then I got to high school, and I didn't really do anything, right? I was an average student, didn't do much, and went through high school and always thought about what's going to happen after high school. And then somehow my buddy and I started lifting weights in his backyard a little bit. And I was just like, yeah, I like this. And then, and then I started researching about it and seeing what it could do for you. And it just caught me. I was just like, man, I love it. At that time it was about being, a large human, right? Strong, muscle bound, and just like
Arnold, because it was during
Arnold. Yeah. It was right after that. It was during, the big bodybuilding days of the early 90s. And it was just like, yeah, this is awesome. I mean, this is what I like. And I just took to it, and I took to it hugely by just doing the bodybuilding stuff, reading everything I could, and just digesting it and then trying things. And it just expanded from there, right? I mean, I did a bodybuilding competition back then.
How old were you?
When I did the competition?
Yeah.
24.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just a little show, but it was just great. So, it was a goal to do because I was working out, and I was like, what am I going to... I'm working out. It's fun, but what am I going to do? And so I decided to say, hey, let's work out for a show to have a goal, right? And so that really consumed me for the next year. And I did some stuff from all the reading I did, some unorthodox stuff then that a few people were doing.
What was unorthodox then?
That is more common now. Okay, so like a paleo or carnivore diet now, right? There was a book, Mario Di Pasquale book about anabolic diet. It kind of followed the Atkins principles. It was basically during the week, you left your carbs low, like no more 40 grams of carbs a day. You ate fat and protein is what you concentrate on, right? And this is before the organic, free-range kind of stuff. And then on the weekends, you would just eat anything. It's like during the week, you kind of just deplete your glycogen, and then the weekends, everything goes. Pizza, everything. I mean, you just literally from Friday to Monday, because Saturday and Sunday you ate anything, you could be 6 pounds heavier.
Monday through, and how many days a week are you working out?
I was at that time. I was working out. That time, okay, I've changed from all that, but I've been working 6 days a week, and I was doing two sessions a day, plus working.
And that was normal though for any competitive bodybuilder.
Yeah. And, well, it was just normal for me too. I just liked it. I'd worked at Safeway. I'd work out in the morning. After work, my buddy and I worked out at night, and we were just like always working out. And this guy Eric, he had a family, and he was great, man. He was just an awesome partner. He was always there, every day. But back to the diet is. During the week, you eat all that, right? Just nothing but fat. And I didn't eat much veggies then, right? So again, I'm totally different, but I didn't eat much veggies then. I drank a lot of V8 was my vegetable because it had a lot of potassium in it. And that was it. And I'd actually make a soup out of V8 and I put broccoli or green beans in there. And it was like my soup base. So I get some vegetables because I wasn't a very big vegetable eater like most people are now. And on the weekends, like I said, you eat anything. And so by the Monday, you're just like full of glycogen. You're just like, whoa, you are pumped, ready to go on that next workout. And then slowly it depletes again, right? Yeah. But I worked at Safeway at the time, and I wanted calories. I'd eat 6,000 calories a day. I would take heavy whipping cream and drink it. That little carton of heavy whipping cream was over 1,000 calories. I'd eat London broiled steaks, eat eggs by the dozen, canned tuna, right?
Yeah.
Baby food, because baby food, at least at that time, had like beef, which tasted like crap, though it was processed better, right? It was cleaner. The baby food is generally a better, cleaner food rather than other stuff, right? So I was doing all that, and I was gaining. And I probably, 6,000 calories. I wasn't, again, knowledgeable as I am now, and I wouldn't do that now, because it's a lot of work. For one, and at that time,
a lot of work on your body to process it all.
And at that time, I was logging everything I ate. I had a program. I logged everything I ate for 2 years. Everything, every day. I can go back and see what I ate, right? Because that's what that's what you're supposed to. At that time, you're supposed to do that. And I would eat, over 300 grams of saturated fat a day. I'd eat like
that's total keto.
Like over a gram of cholesterol every day. A gram, right? We're talking about, I don't know what the recommended now is, like,
I don't even know what an egg has.
Low milligrams, right? I was eating grams. I was tons of this stuff. And here's the only thing. After I was done, I did this for 2 years. And after I was done, I went and got my blood work done. Pretty much the only time I ever got my blood work done.
What made you do it?
Get my blood work done? I want to know. I want to know the aftermath, right? Cool. And, now everybody's always, you got to get your blood work done. You got to, how healthy are you now? Oh, you got to figure this stuff out, right? And my triglycerides were low. My cholesterol was low. Nothing. I mean, I looked like I did now, though I was about 200. I got to 213 pounds. I had a little bit of fat on me, and then I dieted down to about 170 to compete.
Whoa.
I didn't try. That was my first time. And so it if I had to keep doing it again, I could better it. But I got down to 170. And after that, I kind of stayed with that diet, and I just kind of didn't go so crazy on the weekends, and I ate more stuff during the week, and I started including out more vegetables, and that's pretty much what I still do now. And my weight's been the same. I mean, I 20 years ago, I was 200 pounds. I stayed around there, and I slowly went down to the 187 to the 191 mark, and I've been there ever since. I've never been overweight.
Yeah.
And I don't write anything down. I don't even pay attention. I don't know how many calories I eat a day. I don't even care.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I just eat.
Yeah.
When you're hungry, you eat.
Well, it's cool, too, because we were talking beforehand, and I was like, hey, Steve, and you were kind of modest, but I'm like, you still got a six-pack? And you were like, what? And then you're like, yeah, I mean, yeah. And like, you're like, yeah. But it was just, like you said, but I don't count calories. I don't even do abs. I just do me. I do functional movements, and I eat right, and it's just a lifestyle, and that's the product. The byproduct is this. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah, it's just whatever. If you go to achieve something, you're not going to. It's going to be very difficult to get. And then if you do, like achieving the big biceps, okay, but
for what?
For what? What process are you doing to get there, right? I mean, me, I'm 50. I'm not into a specific sport. I'm just into life, right? I got to stay healthy. Police officer and everything. Got to stay healthy, and that's just how it is.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. This is another great thing I want to talk about. You have been a police officer for 23 years. 21 years. Either way, I can pump you up. 21 years in a super busy Bay Area city, major metropolitan city. It is one of the most stressful cities to work in by far on the West Coast. And, I remember that's actually how we met. I worked there for almost 6 years. And I remember my dad, prior to me applying there, he said, hey, yeah, you want to go work in the city? I'm like, yeah, whatever. I mean, I'll work anywhere. So, I mean, I didn't know what I didn't know. And he told me, Joel, if you do like 5 years there, it's like a lifetime somewhere else. I had no idea what he was talking about. I'm like, whatever, that sounds great. Sign me up. I don't care. But I just want people to understand, like, where you work, like, doing 5 years there is like 25 years somewhere else. You've been doing it for 21 years. It's a super stressful job in general, especially in this city. So, yeah, just talk to me. How do you balance that? I know a lot of people, a lot of officers and other first responders will come up to you and ask you. I remember when I was working with you, always people would be walking in the halls, or they'd see you be doing some goofy movements in the corner, and they'd be, hey, Steve, what should I do? How should I do this? So, yeah, talk to me. Just like, how do you like self-regulate and just manage all those stresses?
Just being healthy is a distressor. I mean, your body doesn't want to be in stress, right? It'd rather be in a normal state. When you're in a stress state, so many things happen. And so how do I de-stress? I could pull away from work. You have to have your, again, you have to have anything outside of work, right? Shouldn't be your whole life. I mean, and some people it is. And I think that's a specialization thing. People suffer eventually, right? You got a lot of people in our profession that they retire. They spend all those years working to get that good retirement, and then they just pass on. Yeah. Thus, the pension system knows that, and that's why they have certain ages people work till, because they know that. They know people die before that. So that's a clue right there, right?
But yeah, in our profession, we've seen that a lot. People, as soon as a week after they retire, they're dead. It's mind blowing. Yeah,
and a lot of it. Why, right? Did whatever sickness wait, right? It's a lot of it. Probably they brought it upon themselves only because now when you work for something for so long, say, I know I've never been an Olympic athlete, but you work so long to achieve that goal. You get to the Olympics, you get your goal, you get the gold medal. Yeah. Boom, you're done. And then the thing I hear that happens the next day is like, now what? Yeah. Oh my gosh, my whole life was to get to this point. Just like our whole lives seem to be, you talk around people, is to get to that retirement.
Yep. They're always counting down the days.
And then what? And then it's like, oh my gosh, it hits me. Some people move on because that's what they want. They have health. They have healthy ways of thinking. They have other things other than that, and they move on. But other people are just like, this was me. I was the officer. I was the police, and now I'm not. And oh my God, I don't even know what I'm going to do. Blah blah. They don't plan. Maybe I don't know everybody's situation, but it's. And I think that's a big part of it. But my view is to stay healthy. I just do what I always do. That's what I love. I love to go out and just move. I love to move in the sun. It's like my church, going out to that grass. Anywhere. I mean, a gym is cool sometimes too, because that's just what it is. But I love outside, and I feel it's my church. It's my spirituality area. I could do it forever. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking when I retire, I am going to move. I'm just going to keep, whatever it is, I could do all day. And I just love it. It's just, you're just developing your body. I mean, the way I see it is people, you got people who could do some amazing stuff. Like a fisherman, for example, right? Some awesome fishermen, they know everything about fishing. I mean, what lure to use, what line, what pole. I'm going to go for this fish. I'm going to use this. Cool. Awesome. But what do you know about your body? Because if your body breaks down, you aren't going to be able to do this cool, awesome fishing probably anymore. Or whatever, working on your car or electronics, whatever it is. And so you really got to to me, it's like, why doesn't anybody study their body or what health is? It's so important. It's everything about you. Right. And so when it comes to work, I'm aware. I think awareness is another big thing. Most people are not aware of so much, just so much. Right. And like, how am I sitting right now? What am I doing? Mm-hmm. Are my teeth clenched? Am I up on my hip like this? Same with standing. How I'm standing. How am I standing? And those all affect you, right? Because they bring tension. You just got to have awareness of that, and then you got to have awareness of what you're doing. Here's a big one: the cell phone, right? I mean, we could debate the whole Wi-Fi. Is it good? Is it bad? Ionizing, whatever. Right. Cool. It seems to be that if you put a cell phone up to your ear, because even if you have an Apple iPhone, you can look in their disclaimer and read the little small print. You should not have that thing closer than 5 millimeters to your body. It says that right there. Don't have it closer. Right. So it's warning you right there. It's 5 millimeters. It tells you right there. So they know something's going to happen. most likely, or could happen, right? Okay, cool. So putting it up to your ear, which is less than 5 millimeters, which is very close to a very valuable brain, right? And then it seems like people might start getting tumors, maybe cancerous, maybe not, but whatever, they start having some issues, ear issues or whatever. It's damaged. There's enough out there that I don't talk on the phone. I mean, if I talk on the cell phone.
That's true. I called you this morning. You didn't even pick up.
Yeah, there you go. I usually talk on speaker, or when I'm driving, I'll have my, earbuds in, or not earbuds, but my AirBuds, because I don't wear earbuds because those are the same thing. Anything Bluetooth's
going to
like
the air tube. They have like the air tube ones.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll put a link in the show notes. Those are
or if I'm at work, I'll use the landline, right? Which I think everybody should get a landline in their house. I don't know if you can anymore because people who like to talk should talk on a landline to me. So point being is, I'm always trying to, make people aware, like, hey, maybe, people I know. I don't just go up to a random person and say, hey, sir, No.
You're damaging your brain waves.
Yeah. I just, people who are close to me and that I know try to be healthy. I'm just like, you realize you talk on the phone a lot, and most people don't even know that. No, I don't. I never do. I'm always, or I'm around them and I see them. They get a call, they have to answer, they put it up to their ear, and they start talking. I mean, people call me, I let it always go to message almost. Or if I'm there, I can put it on speaker. Yeah. Or if I'm in my car. And if it's a number I don't know, well, then why do I even talk to them? They can leave a message.
It's probably a telemarketer from
China. So be aware of what, you're putting that up there. Another thing I told the officers about in who I work with, officers like to walk around with this wallet and men in general like to walk around the wallet in their back pocket, but officers like to put this big fat thing of like cards of all the cards we got to give out and stuff and they put it in their back pocket.
Yeah.
Right? I used to do that.
Yep.
Before I started. Not for very long. And so now we're sitting. I got that in my back pocket right now, right? So this is lifting me up like this.
Uh-huh.
My hips tilted. And this is what I am in, what position I'm in several hours a day. Right. In my car, in the police car, whatever. Your back, your spine's crooked, your hips are off. Everything just, and then so people, and you're not aware this is happening, and you don't do anything. I mean, it's not the be-all, end-all that's going to damage you. It is, but if you're aware of it, you can offset that, right? You could do exercise, stretches to offset that. Better yet, you just take that stuff out of your pocket because it's going to affect you.
Well, then it's crazy because then 5 years pass, and then the person's like, I have this lower back pain. It's like they like you said, the awareness. I don't even know how I got it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because well, let's go back. And like, I always like what Kelly Starrett says, like, your body is meant to, Kelly Starrett's a big mobility guru. He's like, your body is meant, the bones in your body are meant to last like hundreds of years. He's like, how are people having like knee surgeries in their bone? He's like, it makes no sense. Like, he's like, guys, this is not normal. But we almost think like, oh, that's normal. Like when I'm 50 years old, I'm going to need knee replacements. Like, no, that's not normal. You have to cultivate that awareness and realize, like, oh yeah, now I have this, and a lot of us don't have the awareness, so we don't even know how we got it. We just assume, oh, my body's shutting down. It's not doing what it's supposed to. Oh, I'm getting old. You hear that all the time. Getting old.
Yeah. Awareness. Females carry a purse. A lot of them, their whole entire lives, they carry a purse, and they always put it over their dominant shoulder, and whatever weight's in there, push that shoulder down. Gives you this a little bit, right? The heavier it is, or a backpack, or whatever, you're just off to the side a little bit. Every day, that affects. Wow, I got this pain on my side. Why?
Yeah.
At least put it on the other shoulder, right, or a backpack, or don't carry a purse, whatever. But be aware of something like that, right? Yeah, like you said, they are aware, and they'll go to the doctor, and that's just a recipe for disaster, right? Then they go down that whole path, which is pain killing. Take our stuff to heal you, and that's not it. Movement's probably going to heal you.
Right.
And, I walk around work. I always watch people, and I watch how they walk, and I get to see a shoulder kinked up, or a hip that doesn't move, or a foot when they walk that's sticking out.
The duck walk.
Or not even duck, maybe not. This foot may go, left foot may go straight, the right foot goes out. Well, that's, you're supposed to, the knee's meant to go forward, point forward and as a hinge, right? So once you go out, if you take a hinge and take it off to the side, the hinge is not supposed to go this way. It's supposed to go this way.
Yeah. So
for example,
you're losing torque every step you take.
That, and you're pushing your knee a little bit, the whole leg is a little bit going wonky, and your hip up here is getting set in that position. Again, if you don't move to compensate for that, you're just going down a path of disaster, right? And like you said, we see it in our profession, but you see it in real life. I mean, anybody, I'm just saying I'm more aware because I'm in that profession and I know I'm around these same people all the time, and I see and I know and I'm aware of how this all works. I'm aware if you sit in your car all the time in your driver's seat in a country like America, because there's still Australia and Japan and Britain, you drive on the side, and if you're a mailman or woman, but you're in your car, and every single you get out, you open your door, and you step out most of the time.
Yep.
You launch yourself up. This leg is getting a lot of work, where this leg's not. Thousands of reps every day, right? That's like Stretch says, right? You got to you start doing 1,000 reps on this leg or whatever on one thing, it's going to sink in. It's going to be there. This is going to be tighter than this.
Yeah.
Again, if you don't move or don't do something about it, you're going to become in a world of hurt. I mean, if you become aware, maybe you'll shift your whole body and stand up, right? And you shift your whole body to your legs, so you use both legs to stand up. That's one way, but just the awareness of what you're doing to yourself.
Yeah.
Right? If you're living, you live next to you live under high-powered wires, right? I mean, those are going to affect you. You look at the studies, look at everything out there.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good for you. And so if you're under that all the time, you start getting these headaches, or for whatever reason, like, I just don't feel well anymore, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not even aware, you're just thinking right around you, well, what's going on? I'm stressed. You may not even know. You're going to go to the doctor, and they're not going to know because they're impossible for them to know because they don't ask these questions. They don't ask you, where do you live? What is this? What is that? How much magnesium are you taking a day? Like, what, huh? How can they diagnose anything without knowing a lot of these basic things? It's tough.
Yeah.
But once people read or study it and become aware of it, watching podcasts, reading, whatever, talking to people, then maybe like, I'm going to start looking at that. But everything's going to have, not going to be the symptom everything's going to have a lot of the same symptoms. So that's another,
right.
I know it's tough there, but you just got to, the awareness has to come like you just moved to a house that has those power lines above them from your old house. And now things are just not right in this house. And it could be a number of things. It could be mold, right? I mean, that's a big thing. And you don't know if you have mold in the house. To power lines, to whatever else, what's around you. I mean, you have the sulfur mine over here. It's been pumping out, and you're breathing that in, right? I mean, it's just, you're close to the freeway now, and you're breathing all that exhaust in, and there's thousands of chemicals in exhaust, thousands of toxins or toxicants in exhaust, because toxins come from animals, like venom, like a snake. Toxicants come from the environment. Just to have a little definition there.
So, if you're an officer or first responder, like, what are some just like practical things that you do probably on a daily basis, or just are there things that you do like grease the groove, for example, that you're just like in between your shift, you're doing these little things, but makes a huge difference?
Yeah, if you see me on the street, I'm always moving. I remember being working a Raider game one time, and just my sergeant came up to me, and some security guy complained about me for moving. I'd be like almost way down, my legs split, not in a splits, but down in that position.
Yeah.
And just kind of moving and just moving my hips.
Yeah.
Right? I'm still sitting there aware. I'm in a uniform. I'm where I'm working. I mean, if something happened, I go and not react. But that's what I do. Instead of just standing there, I do stuff like that. Right? Or, we got these vests on, so I try to move my shoulders or my neck. That's a big part of it, your neck, right? A lot of people have issues with their neck. And I'll do stuff like that. But this person complained about me. My sergeant came up to me, and he's like, I told him it wasn't hampering you doing your job, right? And I'm like, no, how's that going to hamper me doing my job? I'm not sitting there, bench pressing on a bench that, whatever.
I'll be right back. Yeah. I didn't take my vest and.
So I'm always doing little movements like that because I'm aware and I feel tightness in my body. So I'll try to work on that as much as I can.
Yeah.
Right. We're switching over to the SUVs, but we had the old Crown Vics, which their trunk is perfect height for me, where I just go and lean back of it and I just open myself up.
I would do the same thing.
Right? Because we're sitting like this, we're tightening our hip flexors. Almost everybody in the world. Yeah. Everybody in America is tightening their hip flexors, some more than others, like people who drive for a living. And I'm aware of that, and I got to loosen these hip flexors. I got to be in this position a lot, or else I'm going to pay the price.
Yeah.
Pay the price of always being in this position, right? Sitting's not necessarily bad. They say it's a new smoking. It's not bad necessarily. It's just that you don't do other things, right?
Right.
You
got compensate it for it.
Yeah. You got sitting and standing. You stand a long time for 8 hours. It's just almost as bad as sitting. You feel stiff because you haven't moved. So you got to just have movement. You got to do different things. Like you're sitting, a different style than I am right now. And, or you can just
I can feel it. I can feel it. I was getting crunched up.
You can just bring a, leg up or however you can sit on the floor. I mean, you just switch your positions. You could be still sitting, but switching your positions.
Yeah.
You could be sitting at a desk because there's a lot of people who do desk jobs, and you could switch your positions that you could just move your chair out of the way and just sit in a lunge or, stay in a lunge.
Right.
You're still there at that position, but you're different now. And then you lunge the other way or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't have to sit there forever. Like, I'm going to sit in this lunge and just do like this. If you want to, you can for as long as you want. Cool. But again, it got to be awareness.
Yeah.
Just what are you doing? What are you doing? You got, aware of we talk to victims about being aware of their surroundings, right? They sit there on their cell phones as they're walking, and it's like you're just a walking target.
You're right.
So you got to be aware of that. You should be aware of all around you. You should be aware of what you're doing and aware of what you're eating, right? It's just...
Yeah. No, it comes down to awareness, for sure.
Man, you just got to know.
Be curious, right? Be insanely curious and just keep an open mind. And that's the key. And that's why you always share so much stuff with people. It's like, hey, I'm just sharing you what... You make up your own decision, but I'm just going to share you what I read, Talk to me about this. Talk to me how you're training. Like you said, you started as a bodybuilder with that, I'm sure just hypertrophy, right? Where you're just lots of reps. How has your training changed as you've aged? You're about to be 51. You look amazing. Like you're not still doing that. So like, what are some things that you're doing? And yeah, you've talked about movement. You love just being out in the sun and grounding. But what are some things that you're doing? Before the podcast, we were out there throwing kegs around. So talk to us about that and just how your training has evolved. Yeah,
again, it's really evolved, right? I mean, it's come from bodybuilding to so I did my competition, loved it. Okay, I feel like I could do it again. I try to do it again, and then I was training, and then I was squatting one day, and I know why it happened. Aftermath. I was lifting, I don't know, a decent amount of weight for me or whatever, and my quadricep ripped. Just ripped. It sounded like your sweater or shirt ripping, literally like cloth ripping. I heard it, and I just, lucky I had squat rack. This way you squat with safety bars in the rack. I just completely fell, right? Because, you ripped, you have no strength in that leg. Boom, down I went. My training partner, Eric, was behind me. His face was just like white, like, oh my God, like what's going on? I'm not saying anything. I'm sitting there. It wasn't that painful. It was shock. And I'm sitting there with this leg laying on the ground. This leg's bent, the ripped leg, and whip quad, and then this leg straight. And I didn't try to move. I was just sitting there, like I don't know. I was processing it. I was in shock. Right. And then they're calling, hey, get the manager over. He comes running over. They find some paramedics out front who are in lunch, right? And you're just like us, like, oh man, I'm trying to eat my lunch, right? I'm just thinking. Thanks. And so they came and they, like, what hospital do you want to go? I don't know. San Leandro, it's the closest, right? And so they took me to the hospital, and I found the doctor came over and tried to move your leg flat. I couldn't move my leg out of its position, right? And he's pushed in. He's like, yeah, you tore your quadricep. It all rolled up to the top, all four heads. And then that, I was like, oh, am I going to be able to lift again? He's like, oh, you're going to ask me that. He goes, it's going to take, I don't know. It's going to be, it'll be over a year. May at least, this is, it's a big traumatic thing. You ripped your freaking quadricep.
Yeah.
Huge muscle.
Yeah.
Right?
Like you said, all four heads.
All four heads. Yeah. It just rolled up. And so I had the surgeon came in the next day, and he, sliced my leg open, stitched them all, and basically just had to staple them and stitch them together. And then put me in a big leg cast. And that was miserable and go about, right? And then at that time, my knowledge obviously wasn't this was one of my 20s. I'm like 24.
Yeah.
But I knew, and at that time I hooked on with Muscular Development was a magazine I was reading, and there was an author in there, Dr. Michael Colgan. Just his stuff, I got every book. It just blew me away. He had his stuff back then, or what biohackers are doing now. Okay, like he was big on the vitamin C. He explained it. There was all research. He was very research oriented, and I read enough from him and everybody else at that time that vitamin C was it. And then we know vitamin C with healing is just amazing. So I just pounded vitamin C. I took all mega dose, whey protein. And at that time I was taking vitamins, I still do supplements, and I go to see the doctor, and it's healing really good. Right. I get the cast off in 6 weeks. It's freaking one size all the way down. I can't do anything with it. They're massaging it hurt as hell because everything's just so tight. Yeah. Just to bend my knee just a little bit was a bad. But I started going to the gym as soon as I could. And I just
now,
started.
did the doctor tell you that you could do that, or were you like, nah, I'm going to go against what you're telling me to do?
They put me through physical therapy. And physical therapy helped because they gave me massages, and they moved it. And eventually they moved it enough where I could start moving, where I just do the exercise bike. And it would be fine until I got to the end range, or the end range of collapsing it, And and then after a while, I was like, these people aren't doing crap for me. I'm not an expert, but I know more than these people.
But you knew your body pretty darn well, especially being a bodybuilder.
So I went back to the gym, and I started doing my leg extensions with like 10 pounds, which I couldn't even do, which is, you're like, struggling. Anyway, I don't want, that's a long story. The reason that happened is because thinking back, I had an issue with my hips. When I squatted, I always shifted. I remember that. And it's all about mobility. I was tight.
Yeah.
I was tight, and that led me on to my adventure through all this, right? Because I still wanted to move. I still did the bodybuilding stuff. But some stuff I couldn't really do because of still the tightness I had. Because that hip tightness never went away, right? It was still there.
Right.
It shifted because this leg wasn't being used the same way. And it just built upon, a little dysfunction built on dysfunction. And I was moving. I got into kettlebells because that was just something I started reading about. And I loved kettlebell work, but it still was there. Like I didn't do all these different range of motions, right? I mean, you do your presses, and you maybe do your swings, and those are great, but you're not getting all this, right? And I was going to chiropractic, right? I love chiropractic, and they were doing things, and they were helping. But this leg, something wasn't feeling right. My back tweaked because this leg was shorter than this leg, which gave me this look, which eventually tweaked my back. Right, and that was really the only time I ever called in sick in 30 years. I've never called in sick for being sick.
Wow.
Never called in sick for being sick. Nothing. I tweaked my back. In 3 days, I called in sick. I mean, I've called in sick for, kids being sick and other things.
But, yes.
But
not
being sick.
Actually being sick. Never.
30 years of working. But this back tweak did. And then I go to my chiropractor, and he helped me out. He got me feeling a little bit better. Yeah. But we're talking about this leg, and he measured it, and he goes, your leg's shorter than the other leg. And so he was, he's a good guy, but he's new. He didn't know a lot. I mean, he didn't, a lot of experience. And he's like, you're going to put a heel lift in. I was like, that doesn't make sense.
That's interesting.
My leg's never been short, right? It hasn't been short. That can't be right. I'm not going to do that because I never was diagnosed short before. It was always fine. So, I wasn't aware of the body. I wasn't aware of muscles so much then. I wasn't aware of a lot of this stuff. So I started going to find other people. Second opinions, third opinions, fourth opinions, which most people should do anyways when they go to any doctor that says they have whatever. Yeah. Second, third, fourth opinions, because everybody knows different stuff. They all have different, backgrounds. And so why would you go to one person and just, no, I didn't. And this is a point that's great because I went and I was like, okay, I got to find somebody who works with people who move or athletes, right? You can't just go, it's a whole different subset. So I found this other guy who worked off of 24-hour fitness. He kind of was connected to a Fremont place. And then I went and saw him, and he put me in front of a chart with the lines behind it. And he took my picture and he kind of examined me. He goes, oh yeah, no, you got a short leg, right? He was second opinion of the same thing.
Wow.
And I was like, that's bullshit. I could swear, right?
Yes, of course you can. Yes.
That's bullshit. No, I know it's not. I know my body. It's not. So we worked, a person, Hazelwood, at our work, and big-time bodybuilder, and his wife, he was married to a Miss Olympian. And I was like,
that's a pretty good person.
Man, dude, who do you use for a car? I know you go to car. Oh, yeah. There's this guy in Pinole, right? And this is when I live in San Leandro. So San Leandro and Pinole is a pretty good distance.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's a
30 minutes?
40-minute drive, okay. 45-minute drive. And he's like, this guy, I go to this guy in Pinole. Cool. I called him up, went out there, right? Went to his place, went in there. He has pictures of all these bodybuilders and everything, right? I'm thinking, okay, this is at least the right place on that, because this guy at least knows. And he's a big guy. You could tell he was a lifter, and he had strong hands. And the first day I went in, he went in there, and he did adjust me, but it wasn't that. He's just felt, oh, dude, this is tight, right? This hip flex, this is tight, and he started, it was hurt, and he started working in there. And then he adjusted me a little bit, and then he measured, and boom, my leg was straight. The first time straight, right?
And then now he's now saying, no, your legs aren't short.
Yeah, no short leg.
Yeah,
right. It was just your muscles were tight; they were hiking your hip up.
Yeah,
all this was just tight in there, right? And it's like, so I kept going to him. 45 minutes, I'd go.
Yeah.
Started off at 3 days a week to really, 2 and then 1, and then that's when I started looking a lot more into the muscle aspect, the mobility aspect. Again, this was the beginning, 2000. Still wasn't a big thing.
No, it's not a big thing at all.
Right?
Kettlebells weren't big, I feel, even until way later.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you were doing that back then.
Yeah. And so I was into CrossFit. The CrossFit movement started. I was like 2004. I was doing CrossFit stuff. Right at the very beginning. I was thinking about this is kind of cool. Maybe I should have went and become a CrossFit trainer because I would be way ahead of the game.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just like I'll try one thing and then I want to try another, like kettlebells to CrossFit. And CrossFit encompasses a lot, and so those trying different things has led me along with my journey of fixing my hip, and then obviously everything else that runs above the hip and below the hip. It's not the hip just causes dysfunction all along. You release the main point, and the other points will start releasing once the body can start using its muscles properly. Right? If you mess up a big prime mover such as your glutes, something else has to take over. And that's when you start getting pain in your knee or wherever, in your ankle or your shoulder or your neck, right? Because of something like you're not activating your glutes are inhibited. That's what got me to moving to go to, kind of that same time as kettlebells, CrossFit type stuff. And then we go on. And this chiropractor just went out of business. I think he got tired of working. It was great. I was like, oh, no, right?
Yeah.
So I was on a quest to find a new chiropractor. I found another guy. He was good. But after a while, it's like a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of chiropractic, they just kind of, at first you're like the most important thing and they really want to diagnose you. And then after a while, and this is not everybody, I'm generalizing. Then they're just like, you just kind of come in there, okay, cool, thanks. And you're out, right? And it's like, man, I don't like that type of care anymore because I still have issues. And some of these issues I should have been taken care of then because, again, I need to be responsible for my body.
And you got to go deep sometimes. Like you said, you're always going to the root of the problem. And sometimes, like you said, some chiropractors are just like, bam, 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 cracky, adjust you. And you feel good, but if you got like some root hip issues and stuff and you're not taking care of that, then the bones are going to start to tighten up. You're going to end up with the same problem, right? You're just going to fall back into that pattern.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I went to another chiropractor. I tried a lot of different chiropractors, tried acupuncture, tried it all because it's something to try to see if it does work. Let's see what works for us. Nobody really knows. It's not just going to a doctor and getting your medication. It's not, I'm going to say that's not going to work for you. That's the last thing anybody should do. But each their own. I'm taking responsibility for my health, and I encourage everybody to take responsibility for their health. And I'll assist with what I know, and I'll try to point people in the right directions. Found another chiropractor, really nice lady. She did a lot of different functional tests on me. This is the first time I given functional. Well, no, the first guy kind of did a little bit of functional tests, but she did a lot of functional tests to find out where you're tight to work, know what to work on. That's great because that shows you something. Now, this person's actually looking for the issues rather than you just coming in and complaining about, I got hip pain. Okay, well, we know hip pain's not just hip. It comes from probably your ankle maybe, right? And maybe even the opposite ankle. So they do that. And so she did that. And then she kind of seen what my weakness was or my faults were, and she's like, "Hey, there's this thing she knows about foundation training. That's where that came from, right?" I'm like, okay,
talk to us about that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Foundation training, cool. So I researched it, and I got there's the videos, and I started doing it, right? But the videos didn't go into deep like the anchoring and stuff, right? That's another big, as we said, a big part of it. So I got into foundation training. I looked, lo and behold, they were offering a certification in Walnut Creek. Right? I was like, oh, I live right next to Walnut Creek. Great.
Yeah.
3-day certification. It costs like $1,000, whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean, again, when it comes to education, you can't put a price on anything. I mean, that's the thing to spend your money on.
And nobody can take that away from you, which I like. No.
It's a skill you're taking forever.
Yeah.
I went to the certification in Walnut Creek. Nobody else from Walnut Creek. Everybody else is like from Southern California, guys from Australia. It's just because they didn't have that many certifications. I'm like, dude, I can't believe nobody else. I'm just like driving over, 5 minutes away to my house. And everybody's coming from all around the world to come to this. Great. And I learned, great bunch of people. I learned a lot. And then there was this one girl there who, she was an assistant or student instructor. And she just went to an Ido Portal movement camp. Right. And I never heard of Ido Portal. This is, 7, 8 years, 9 years ago, 10 years. I don't remember.
Yeah.
12 years ago, maybe. And then I watched her and she did some crawls. And I mean, okay, she was an attractive woman in the first place, okay? So it was fine. It was easy to watch her there. But the way she moved, I was like, oh, that looks so awesome. She was doing a lizard crawl.
Right?
A lizard crawl, right? And just moving. And I was like, wow. Right? And I was listening to her talk to somebody else, and Ido Portal. So me being the researcher, I love this stuff, Ido Portal. And that just opened my entire world to something totally different, right? And it's like, oh my God, look at this guy. This guy's amazing.
Yeah.
The way he moves, and he has that body people like to look at, right? That most men would love to get his body. Yeah. He just has that,
It's like a Bruce Lee almost body, right? Like this lean.
But he has muscles, yeah. And he, like he says, he doesn't go for the body. He just moves, and it all takes care of itself. And so I started really researching him, and I was like, oh, I got to, and then other movement practitioners, because he's not the only movement guy. There's so many out there. And then these some of these, I found a place, athletic playground in Emeryville that was a big movement place.
That's like parkour, right? You're doing like parkour?
Well, there's a parkour place in Concord that I started going to learn parkour, right? I mean, that's awesome. Yeah. So they had like a beginning parkour. Yeah. I went and then found a trampoline place. I always wanted a trampoline on the big Olympic ones, and I found that. And I did that in Oakland. And they had a circus place, right? I loved it. And then I found the athletic playground and went over there, and there's this it's more movements. I mean, handstands, climbing a cloth, and all that stuff. But they were, big movement. They had movement seminars come in, and I just started going to these different movement seminars. GMV Fitness was another huge one I found. I went down to Salinas, met some great people through there. So every time I've gone to these places, I've met awesome people that I've connected with, and they've taken me even further. Yeah. So my bubble was this, and I get more and more people, and then the knowledge is just like, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff. And now I have where I might have walked with my little satchel with I call it my toolbox, right? Yeah. What's wrong with you, buddy? Let me open my little satchel, and that's all I had to work with. There's like a lot of these practitioners out there. That's their satchel is small. That first guy I went to, great guy, but that was his
limited.
And then he couldn't help me. Now, somebody like me, I have my it's a toolbox. I got to wheel the whole damn thing with me, right? Because I got so many things I can potentially use or whatever, and I try to use it all. And as you see all the stuff I have, I can't possibly use it all the time. Yeah. And so I'm always going in and out of it, but it's same way with trying to, figure out movement. I sit in bed, I lay in bed, I drive, I think about issues like my hip is like this. Well, why is it? Oh, well, I'm starting to feel pain in my knee. Okay. And then I'll start, like knee pain generally. It has nothing to do with the knee in a way. Correct. Oh, yes, it does, because that's where you're feeling the pain. Yeah. And it might be getting altered, but it's mostly your hip or your ankle. Yeah. Those are most likely your problem points, right? So you can focus on those, and the knee will come along. But to go and focus on the knee, which a lot of traditional medicine does, especially with pain, just take medication. That'll heal itself. Well, your body will heal itself if you give it the proper environment. Yep. But if you haven't fixed your hip or your ankle, that knee's never going to heal. It's going to get worse. And you get people who have knee surgeries. You should have a knee surgery. There's no reason to get a knee surgery. There should be no reason to get a hip surgery, a back surgery. And we'll go further. There's no reason you should get any organ taken out of your body that you're supposed to have. A gallbladder, a kidney, okay, if you want to give it up. Right. For somebody, right?
Well, I think what you're saying, too, is like, if you give the body the right input, then you're great. You give the body the right input, the output is gonna be amazing. It's gonna flourish. That's all you got to do. And a lot of people, like you said, they just don't get down to the root issues, and it's just easy not to. It's just like,
it takes some dedication.
Yeah, I mean,
it takes. Most people aren't aware that they don't study the body. Like, this is what I do. I don't watch any of the shows out there. I may watch one every once in a while, but I don't watch TV much. If I do, I watch a documentary. Yeah. I read a lot. I watch podcasts. I practice movement. I read about movement. I read about other stuff, and I practice that stuff. I practice it all on me, right? And I see what works and what doesn't. And I live whatever I talk, whatever I put out there, I do.
What has been one of the most? I mean, like you said, you've been to so many. So, like, if you had to boil it down to like one, what's one of the most impactful trainings you've gone to from from all the movement modalities? What do you think is like one of the biggest?
Okay, well, I'm going to answer it twice.
Okay,
because I'm going to say the biggest was the foundation training, because that just opened up my world, right? You got to look. Sometimes it's the thing, but it's a lot of times where that thing's going to lead you, and I didn't even anticipate that, of course.
Right.
But that's just opened my world tremendously because of who I talked to and what I learned from there. Okay. Yeah. So, and the foundation training is instrumental in a lot of things, because this works your posterior, which everybody has a problem with. Yeah. We all work on the showy muscles. So I'm going to say maybe the GMB training I went to after that, because it went into more movement.
And GMB is an acronym for gymnastic?
No, gold medal bodies.
Okay, gold medal body. And it's centered around gymnastics, though, right?
Yes, it does center around gymnastics, but they do a lot of animal moves and a lot of other things. But yes, and so that opened my world to more Ido Portal kind of stuff. But, now with hands-on learning a little bit, and again, meeting some awesome people, but just, I guess, the diversity there. Yeah. And again, watching somebody like one of the instructors is Jarlo, and the dude, he did a session of movement on the ground, low squatting kind of stuff, just, or crawling. And then it was just so, again, it was like when I watched the one woman move, I watched him and I was just like, dude, look how effortlessly he's moving down there. And he's just crawling, and it's been recorded. It was recorded on, it was recorded, and I've gone back and I've watched it several times, and I'm just like, that's what we need to do. That's what I want to do. I don't want to be the big guy. Yeah. I mean, I want to be strong. I love strength, as you see. I love my kegs. I love my kettlebells. I love picking stuff up from the ground, and I want to go. I still have a goal, right? And that's one thing. One reason I keep my lifestyle is because you learn so much up to this point that I'm finally getting a chance to use it all. I don't want to die. And now it's like life is just beginning. Like I want to go to Iceland. I'm going to go do stone lifting still. In my 50s, I don't care. I'm going to lift. I mean, they have several different size stones, and that was their thing into manhood. To get into manhood, you had different stones you had to lift, right? And they're famous. I just want to go out and lift them.
You know what I find so amazing is even what you said earlier about how people in retirement, and it reminds me of this Tony Robbins quote where he talks about like people are so focused on achievement versus like fulfillment. And for you can just see like if you were like, oh, I'm going to lift stones and that'll be the end of my life and I've won. I achieved something. Great. But for you, it's like, no, I'm just fulfilling I'm just putting new things in my bucket. I'm just fulfilling myself. This is great. There's just some openness and abundance. It's never ending, whereas when you achieve something, there's just this, you put a limit on it.
Yeah, I in my whole philosophy of working out is the journey rather than the achievement. I'll come out here with people have their, what am I doing today? I'm doing chest, I'm doing this, and that's cool. I did that, and I like it, and maybe I should follow it sometimes a little more with some of the skills I want to perfect, right? I might want to I think in my head, I want to perfect my hand balancing, right? I want to perfect my hand balancing. That's what I'm going to start doing. Mm-hmm. Then I come out to my yard, and I just kind of get out here, and I pick up the keg, or I pick up my club, and I just start moving with it. And then an hour later, right, it's like I'm still doing this or doing that, and I haven't even focused on hand balancing, which is perfectly okay.
Yeah.
The aspect I'm out there moving, okay, I'll get hand balancing sometime, or I'll get, whatever sometime. My rope climbing, I got to climb the rope more. It's there. It's a good back exercise. And I should, but I get into other things, and that's how my workouts, I don't go in always with the plan. Right. I mean, I kind of think I do, but I go in.
And then the plan gets screwed up.
But mostly it's where am I deficient? I go in always, I love bench pressing, which I haven't bench pressed in probably like 20 years. I don't bench press. But
why don't you bench press?
There's no reason why. I'm not
pushing. I don't know. Pushing force.
Yeah, but you could do that with the push-up.
Okay.
In different angles, different objects, right? You could do it. I mean, that's just so much better. Bench pressing, you are on a bench, and you've now limited your scapular movement, which is a huge part of your bench pressing. Most people, that's all they do. I'm not saying it's bad. You can do it every once in a while, but you got to do all these other things. You got to open your arm up, right? You got to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And they just bench and bench and bench, and they all get. Not all of them. They get a lot of shoulder issues. They never take care of. They never say, I got to rehab this. I got to just bench more, or I got to go lighter, but I got to keep benching.
Yeah.
And then essentially they just destroy their shoulder, where they probably should back off really. Again, now, what should I do when I go in the gym? My shoulder's been hurting. Well, I better do all kinds of shoulder stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how I do a lot of things. Where am I limited right now? That's what I need to focus on. And every day it might change a little bit, and then I'll add other stuff in there. But I'm my thing is just moving.
Yeah.
Every day, I don't take a day off. It's moving. It may not be lifting the heaviest weights possible. I don't really lift a lot of weights all the time because it is very taxing to your recovery system, right? Because you're taxing your spine, and that's another thing. So I notice when I do like a heavier weight day that the next day I'm not gonna be able to do it. I'm sore, but when I get out and move, it takes a lot of that soreness away, and focusing on what I need to move. right? It's being aware.
Yeah.
You got to be aware. What do you need to move? What do you got to work on? And then you're doing it, because sometimes we don't do it. Oh, I know I'm supposed to eat healthy. I know it.
Uh-huh.
But God dang, I want I want those French fries over there. Or you got to just like, okay, I'm going to do this.
I want to go switch gears here. What's like a typical day as far as like diet is for you? And then I want to get into your supplements. So like you wake up in the morning, like, what's normal?
Okay, if it's a day off, right? Like the day like today,
Yeah.
I'll wake up. I'll do a little bit of movement, right? I like to do my cat cows, and I like doing hip openers because that's just something to prime you. I mean, you've been laying in bed. It's simple, 5 minutes worth. I'll go upstairs. I'll fix my coffee, usually a bulletproof type coffee, but it could always change. Sometimes I put some things in it, sometimes like cacao or cinnamon, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
And then I'll usually take some vitamin C and some acetyl-L-carnitine and maybe some herbs. That revolves. It's never. I don't try to take everything every day because I don't know if we really need it.
Yeah. You're kind of like a press pull cycle. You're not, or you
Yeah.
just do it on what you feel. You're just.
I don't know if I feel. I just like
What does my body need today?
Mushrooms, for example. I take mushroom powder, but do I take it every day? No, no, because I have so many different powders. It's like I don't want to sit there and take 87 a day.
Yeah.
I'll take these 3 this day, these 3 tomorrow, and then go back to these 3 or whatever. And then I'll come out and I'll generally start doing some kind of movement. I like the keg. I open up on the keg, boom, and then depending on what I'm going to do, I don't know. Sometimes I'll go out there, and if I have nothing pressing for the day, I'll just play some music, and I just go, and I might be out there for an hour, 2, 3 hours. And generally, I'm never usually hungry. I haven't eaten yet, and I'm just usually I stop because it's like I'm not wasting, but I've used my whole day on this, or maybe I should go eat, or I got to go do this later, so let's stop now, right? Or I wanted to go do this, sit in a sauna or sit in the cold tub, and so then I'll go and usually take a shake at that time because it's easy. Put a lot of different stuff in the shake, a lot of good stuff. Mm-hmm. And
what's some good stuff that you like to put in there?
I usually put a base of water, or a little bit of water, and like a cup of frozen fruit, just about a cup.
Okay.
Different kinds because I like to have variety. I put liquid minerals in there. I'll throw like 3 raw eggs, good eggs. I'll put salt and pepper in there, and the pepper helps the curcumin I put in there later absorb. I'll put 15, 20 different powders in there. Sometimes bee pollen. Grind up some chia seeds, maybe put a scoop of that in there. I put some maple syrup because I need a little flavor. It gets a little, maple syrup as a sweetener. Maybe some kefir or some yogurt, protein powder, and grind it all up, and I'll drink it. So that could, and this has been a staple, again, back from Michael Colgan, olive oil.
You got me on the olive oil, by the way. I've been following that since you told me, and I love it. And it's funny because I want to hear what you learned from Dr. Colgan, but I remember Dr. Gundry, who's like a popular doctor right now because he wrote The Plant Paradox. He swears by olive oil as one of like just. You talked about the blue zones earlier about people living to their 100. He says like all of them had like an olive oil, or I don't know all of them, but majority of them did. And it's just the polyphenol content, and olive oil is just so good for your health. So you got me doing that. I always do that now. Thank you.
Good. You're welcome.
But yeah, talk to me about what you learned from him and why that's a staple.
The same thing, it was all just how good it was for you, right? And so, and at that time, again, when I was reading Colgan, my whole thing was I need calories. Olive oil is an easy way to get calories, right? You just, a tablespoon is like 120 calories, right? So now I don't really measure it, but I'd be like measuring a quarter cup.
Yeah.
Right? And how many calories is that? I don't know, 700, 800? It's a lot for just quarter cup. It's like my heavy whipping cream of 1,000 calories, right?
Yeah.
And so I'll put a ton of, I'll just usually just sit there and count like to 20. 1, 2, 3, as I pour olive oil in my shake.
Yeah.
So my shake might be, 2,000 calories. I don't even know. I don't care.
Yeah.
Grind it up and I just drink it.
Yeah.
Right? And then it fulfills me. Sometimes I want to eat something while I'm drinking it because you should usually eat because you got to chew, right, to get the enzymes flowing. So I always want something crunchy. Sometimes I'll eat a couple chips or crackers or a piece of cheese or whatever. It's something just to chew so I get the fulfillment of eating something, right? Because just drinking is it might not fulfill you, right?
Yeah.
And then later, I'll just do my day. Sometimes I might come back and move again later. I might go, do whatever. I'll practice juggling or whatever. I always like doing some kind of new skill. I got a guitar. I'll practice my guitar or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I will eat a meal. I don't know. It could be anything later, and then maybe another meal late at night, or maybe just one meal, and I make it a big, like fish, whatever, steak. I mean, it's usually meat. I got to have meat. And I know, I'm not vegetarians, and they're like, vegetarianism is great. You know what? Vegetarianism is awesome put a steak with it. I will eat all the vegetables. I agree 100%. I love all the vegetables. I don't need all the fluff. I don't need the rice. I don't need the beans. I don't need the things.
So you'll do like a paleo style dinner. You'll have some kind of meat probably with vegetables.
Yep, that's pretty much that's been it. That's basically been the foundation since my 20s.
But you won't have. What about sweet potatoes? Will you won't eat that?
Occasionally.
Okay.
Occasionally. I'm not going to say I'm not.
No rice, no quinoa.
Occasionally.
No
Occasionally. I don't make it generally. Like when I make my kids dinner. Throughout all the years, it's always been just a vegetable and some meat, or vegetables and some meat, generally, because they get enough carbohydrates and fluff in their own diet, right?
For
they
sure,
can't
for
eat.
sure.
And we can't control that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like people are like, I can't eat like you. Just be aware. You could eat the stuff that's considered bad for you, and that's fine, but you got to eat the good stuff.
Yeah.
And part of that is getting a lot of different vegetables in you. And I think the easiest way of that is with powders, right? A good green powder gives you like 30 things. Just take a scoop a day. Not hard.
Also, are you still, I know you got me into herbs. You were taking a lot of herbs for a while. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, we're not talking marijuana here, right? We're talking herbs.
Herbs. No, I'm talking like ant powder. Come on, man. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Tongara leaf.
Well, I mean, maybe else doesn't.
Yeah, no, just kidding.
Yeah, in fact, I've tried to switch more to herbs only because an herb has so many different things in it, right? It has all these little phytochemicals because it comes from nature, right? Ant powder, you mentioned, right? Ants, okay, has a little bit of protein. It has the ant, what are in ants? It's what's in the cells. It has zinc, not a lot, but just a little. And it does these different things for the body, partly because of the minerals you take, and I'm sure, and partly because of just other stuff that's in it, right? Or
like you said, I think it's like a living organism. So that's what
Or Hishiwu, for example, I think is another good one.
Yeah.
But it's a plant. Again, plants. Again, plants and good protein
and meat.
And I'm just in heaven, right? And I got to eat, but it has to be. People think meat. I eat meat. I go to McDonald's. No, you got to have good, clean meat.
Yeah.
You got to have good, clean plants. You got to have good, clean eggs. And they're out there. They take a little work. Right? But you got to have them because they bring less toxins. Toxins are the problem. You want to go back to the virus or whatever, anything that ails you, it's because of your toxic load.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the biggest thing. And you just keep adding to it. You don't do the things that will take away from it or decrease it to make you better, right? You're always stressed. You're always eating the crappy food and whatever. But back to the herbs. I just take
Shilajit. You still taking
Shilajit, yep. And okay, and you ask, what do they do, right? And I have awareness to myself. I mean, more awareness, I think, than the average person. And sometimes I could feel, but I can't feel like, it's affecting my leg or whatever.
Yeah.
But I take my stuff. I have energy galore. I can work 60 hours a week.
You do work 60 hours a week, by the way.
Sometimes, yeah.
Most of the time, right?
Yeah. I had, the kids are older, so they don't take as much, but I used to, I cooked and took care of the kids part-time. I move every day, 1 to 2 hours, sometimes 3, even when I'm working.
Yeah.
And then some of that is during work, right? Because you can sit there doing whatever you're doing, and like I did, and just move. I'm just being aware of movement. But I do a movement session where I could just really feel like I worked out because I got to do that, or else I don't feel like, But the point being is, I take these herbs and everything else. That's my lifestyle. It's just full of energy. I don't tired.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as I sleep well, helps me sleep well. I can sleep, wake up, and ready to go. And then the days when, with our work, sometimes you had shift altering, right? You had to wake up 4 a.m, you go do a search warrant.
Uh-huh.
It sucked.
Yeah.
Right? But I can wake up that morning and be no issues. I mean, yes, ultimately there is an issue because I know, like Kelly Starrett says, it's pre-diabetic. You put yourself in a pre-diabetic state if you haven't slept enough. If I'm aware of that, then maybe I won't eat all this other, and again, this is not a whole other level of awareness. Maybe I won't eat a certain way.
Right.
Because I know my body's already compromised. I know I've compromised my body. I feel great. And maybe I haven't compromised myself as much as somebody else would have who doesn't live a healthy lifestyle. But I could work that whole day, whole night, right? I mean, when I was working the swing shifts, right? This was every week we used to, at the 12-hour shifts. So we had 3, 4, right? 4 days, 1 week you work 12-hour shifts, and the next day 3 weeks, right? But 3 days a week. But usually my other week, I'd take up overtime that first day. And then I'd also sometimes make it a whole day. So even if my first day, say it was Tuesday, I would work from my start at 7 a.m, and I'd work until 2 p.m. Yeah. I do that every Tuesday.
Yeah.
The next day I'd work 2 to 2 to 2 or 12-hour shift. The next day 2 to 2, the next day 2 to 2. So I get my 4 days. Sometimes I work a day off, but at that point I don't like to work my days off too much because I like to do my stuff. I like to move outside. I can't do that at work, but I could then because I could wake up and move. But I'd never had an issue. Like people say, I'm tired. I worked a couple hours a day. I get it. Okay. I worked 17 hours or 19 hours, right? 19 hours, then 3 12-hour shifts.
Yeah. And
the fourth day, right, Friday, I'm working out in the morning. I'm waking up. I'm coming out and working out. Plenty of energy.
Yeah.
Even though I've worked, 24, 43 hours the last 3 days.
Yeah.
Boom. And that's how it's been. And I mean, to describe that feeling compared to, I haven't been into an ill feeling for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So I can't come from a place of a lot of people, but I can look at them and I can just think to myself, like, if you knew what health was, if you actually participated in that, you would blow your world open.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you go to people who are, okay, I'm telling you, if you have a gut, you are not healthy. Okay? I know people love to see, I mean, of course, there's different stages, but, if you're overly obese or whatever, you're not healthy no matter what. I'm telling you, that's just badness in you. Right? Yeah. And I mean, I'm not
You're not judging it. You're just saying.
I'm not judging. I'm just saying you're not healthy.
Yeah.
And what's cool about that, if you want to look at it from one point, is they may think a certain way, whatever they got, how their thinking works, or their thought process, or whatever, just their ability to think, and then beyond moving and everything else. But if you feel how you feel then, and you decide to get healthy and get rid of that and get healthy, your thinking can get astronomically better.
Yeah.
I mean, you could your whole life could change. And that's what's kind of cool about that, because you feel how you feel in that state, and maybe you feel okay. I'm sure a lot of people don't, and they don't admit it or whatever they sometimes do. But if you can get out of that state into the healthy state, into the state I feel like I'm in every day, people you've mentioned, you're always positive.
Yeah, I said that. I think one of your things is that your mindset is so strong. And when I remember meeting you, police work is a negative job. It just is. It's filled with negativity and negative people, and we perpetuate it. It's just so easy to fall into the trap and be like, "Oh, Steve, this is bullshit the way they're treating us." And blah. And I remember something happened. I ended up working with you, and you were like, "Yeah, buddy." You're like, "Yeah, I don't care." I remember we were somewhere in East Oakland, and you took out some peppers and stuff. You just started eating them in the back of the trunk. You're like, "Yeah. Oh, life is good." And I just remember, nothing faces this guy. It was just the way you carried yourself. I've
been like that. I've been pretty keyed since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Right? And I've always kind of gone against, I didn't really care about much. People always wanted to get into the cool stuff. I got to wear these certain shoes, certain pants, back in school, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You had to be the in crowd. And I didn't give a crap.
Yeah.
I wore my heavy metal T-shirts. I had my long hair. Okay. And I'm fine. I left my metal. I had my long hair, and I just did my things my way.
Yeah.
And that was cool. And I didn't have to be with everybody else. And that's kind of where I am now still. I do my own thing. If you want to come, and anybody can come, and, hey, you want to work out with me? You want to talk? Let's do it. I love talking about this stuff. Yeah. People do at work. They ask me, we could be 2 hours down and be like, oh, okay, maybe we should, I could talk about forever.
I know.
So the thing is, I know what I love, and I always like to look at that. There's always could be worse things, right? I mean, people complain about every situation. It could always be worse. And I am aware that thinking is going to take me down the line, the pit of hell, basically, right? Yeah. Bad thinking, that's where I'm going to go. I know that.
Yep.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
There's so much good in this world, right? There's coming to talk to you. There's hanging out with you. There's hanging out with my kids. There's just eating good food.
Yeah.
Just a good meal, or coming out and just soaking up some sun and just moving, or listening to music or whatever. It's just amazing.
It's that abundance mindset, man. I love it.
It's just amazing, right? So I don't even go down that road.
Yeah.
And
I notice about you.
People would, and again, there's always something to complain about.
Always.
And in that respect, I don't hang out with those people. You know what it is? People that in life, but in our profession, they're the negative people. And I don't even want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to bring anything positive to my life, right? And that's not going to let me get bigger.
Yep.
Right? It's all about growing. I mean, back when I was younger, I wanted to learn, but now it's really about growing. As I got older, I was like, I want to know everything. Again, another reason, I'm 50. This is the time when people are worried about dying. I mean, 50-year-olds are dropping dead around me. And I was like, I got so much to learn.
Well, I got 30-year-olds, like I said, that are scared to meet with me. Not you. You're like, come on over. Let's do this. Let's make it happen, man.
Yeah, right? There's just so much to learn. And then in our profession, right, if if it all lasts, which I have a big doubt about that, but we'll talk about the pension system, right?
Yeah.
We get a good pension, the police officers and whatever. Cool. Yeah. And I want to take advantage of it. I want to be 108 years old, living wherever, hopefully other than here.
Yeah.
Right? Something along the beach, maybe in Mexico. Writing my letter, whatever I do then, if I write or if I communicate or whatever, to the local newspaper over that encompasses that, hey, it's the city of Oakland. Hey, thanks, city of Oakland. Still getting paid.
I'm doing amazing, by the way. Thank you.
Still amazing, and you're still sending me money. Dude, that's just awesome. Just that thought. It's like, dude, I got to be like Dave Asprey who lived 180. Imagine that.
Yeah.
I'm 150 years old. You guys are still paying me.
Thank you.
Like, man, this guy's like putting us in the hole himself, right?
They might send a hitman.
They're going to send a hitman
to finish you off. Get this guy out of here.
Yeah.
I want to wrap things up, and I want to go into the lightning round of questions.
Okay.
So they're just going to be shorter kind of questions.
Should I hold on? Is it going to shake my? Is it going to shake my seat?
I'm going to electrocute you with my newbie machine afterwards.
Okay.
But these should not be too shocking. So, when you think if the old Steve saw the new Steve, what would the new Steve say to the old Steve?
Just keep learning. Keep just expanding, right? That's what I got, how I got here. And lucky I kind of started at a young age. But I just say, man, you got to keep, and I tell my kids, keep learning. And nothing's too expensive, really. I mean, for what you might get out of it, right? People always say, that's $300. Oh, man, it's nothing compared to what that's going to bring you, right? And learn skills. Dude, you got to learn skills. I wish I could go back to real young Steve back in high school. Instead of doing nothing, I was learning stuff, learning how to play an instrument, learning a foreign language. Because, before the age of, 18 to 20, when your brain is more malleable, right? You can learn more. It's at a dangerous state that it will be affected by, like, say, electromagnetic frequencies more because it doesn't have its armor built yet, but it allows you to learn better. After that, your learning slows down. You still can learn, but your brain's protected. But and I tell my nephews, nieces, and my kids, you got to learn as much as you can right now. You don't know how much this is going to help you. So that was how I would tell myself. Yeah, great. Anybody right now in the fitness, biohacking, wellness world that you follow that inspires you? I'm sure there's many, but is there any one that stands out? I don't. I mean, Ben Greenfield's always been great because and Dave Asprey's been good too. But I like Ben Greenfield because he's more athletic. Yeah. He brings the fitness side. He brings the fitness side, and that's what I like. Asprey has Asprey started off, we went to Bulletproof Conference together. Yeah. Learned a lot that way, right? And he talks his talk, and he's a busy guy. I get it. He can't do a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I just think you got to bring a lot of movement into it. I mean, a lot. Our body's meant to move. You're supposed to move. I know people love to say, I got to sit down. You have, dude, that's everything. Everything works by movement. Chemicals are created. Your joints are lubricated. Everything is by movement. So Ben Greenfield more so because of, what he's about. I mean, they're both about the same thing, but how he comes about it. Mm-hmm. And there's always little ones that pop up because you're always finding new things, like a new podcaster, like, you like your podcast, like, oh my gosh, this is great stuff, learning from everything. So there's infinite, I'm not saying infinite, but to me, there's infinite number of podcasts 100%. Out there that you can't listen to them all. Yeah. You gotta pick one you like. You gotta, and you could be sitting in your room, listening to podcasts or driving, listen to podcasts forever. Right. Yeah. So, sometimes I like driving just so I can listen to a podcast. I don't care if I got to drive an hour to San Jose. Put on a podcast. Yeah. It's great. And then on that note, is there any like big biohacks that you like to do, or is there anything that you mentioned sauna? You have your but your cold tub. Yeah. Is there anything that you like to do, or that you found the most effective, or any big biohacks? I mean, I'd like the sauna now, right? Sweating is huge for getting all these toxins out of us, especially I think you need to sweat. You can sweat working out, and that's great. Working out, going all out all the time, you're going to destroy yourself. You can't. I mean, a lot of CrossFitters destroy themselves. I love CrossFit, but what it's about, and you do get better, but your recovery only goes so far. Yeah. You can't, your ability to lift and do all this stuff, it far surpasses that. And I learned this from Mike Menser years ago. He had his HIT training. Yeah, high intensity training, where you just do one set. And I did it for a while, where you just do one set all of heaviness, right? Because you only have so much recovery ability. So you can't go all out. So you can't, I don't sweat a whole lot all the time when I work out. I'm an easy sweater. When I sit in the sauna, I sweat like crazy. Yeah. I've got hot yoga, I sweat like crazy. I mean, there's a pool around me. I got to bring like 3 towels. So I'm just like wiping it up. It's crazy. But it's great because you got to sweat. So that's probably the biggest thing.
And then what kind of sauna is it, by the way?
It's a clear light sauna.
Okay.
Because it's low EMF. It costs a pretty penny, but you know what? That's what I like to spend my money on.
Yeah.
I work overtime
to pay for your
just
toys.
to do that.
Yeah.
Right? People, for whatever reasons, that's what I like.
Yeah,
I'll buy, I got the red light panels. I got 3 of them.
Yeah.
I bought my kids each one, and I have 2. So I got 4 of them.
I love it.
And I let anybody use them, my sister or whoever could use it.
Yeah. Any, when I think about, for me, I'm big on like rituals or practices. You mentioned a lot of, for me, it could be maybe gratitude journaling for some people. Are there any habits or practices that you do on a regular daily basis?
Well, I sacrifice goats to Satan.
Besides, take that out. Adam, take that out.
Yeah. The morning rituals are, I like my coffee. I didn't drink coffee up till like 5 years ago, right?
Oh, wow.
Most of my career, I hated coffee. I hated everything about coffee. And the reason I started drinking coffee, because if you look at all the studies out there, everything that has to do with coffee, you just live longer. Yeah. It doesn't matter what ails you, you live longer drinking coffee. Colgan wrote about coffee in his brain health book, right?
And that was years ago.
That was 2001, 2002. And just talked about, that's where I first read the study that, and I was just like, but I couldn't get coffee back then. I didn't like the taste. I hate everything coffee, but I started drinking coffee. I was like, this stuff's good for me. Yeah. I got to drink it. And so I just started drinking it, and then Bulletproof Coffee came out, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I can add extra calories, and oh man, I feel great drinking it, right? And so the coffees have become a ritual, right? Some days I don't drink coffee because everything shouldn't be done all the time.
Yeah.
So I'll drink tea. I won't go without. I don't need it, right? People need it.
Yeah.
I can wake up with this energy and just go.
Yeah.
I don't need it. It just feels good. It's just a ritual I do there. And then some kind of movement. Even my work days, I get up, not hours because I got to start at 7. So I got to sleep. But I get up and I get some red light on me. I get my eyes in the sun and I make sure I move a little bit.
Any exciting projects or any projects that you're working on right now that you're super excited about?
I mean, the project I've been working on and I continue to love working on is me.
Yeah, I love that.
I just love I want to get myself as best I can.
Yeah.
So I'm the project.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just what I like to do. Other people, whatever they got, whatever. Yeah. I'm the project and I'm always working on me. Not saying I'm self-centered or whatever. I won't help anybody out. I'd love to bring it out beyond me. Right. And I should in certain aspects, and I probably will right now in my life, just where I'm at. It's just, maybe I'm too comfortable where I'm at and I'm just focused on me and then those right around me, the circle. But people could be added to that circle, no problem. I have no issues with that.
No, and I get that because I had my martial arts instructor. I asked him that question. He said the exact same thing you said, but he said it's not a selfish thing. It's just that I know when I work on myself and make myself better, then everybody else around me gets a better me, and then it's a ripple effect, right, of what you're putting out in the world. Yeah. So I totally get that.
And real quick, just go with that.
Yeah,
that's what I tell everybody. Right, people want to look at what's happening in Washington or Africa or whatever stuff you cannot affect. Mm-hmm. Right. And they're worried about it. Sometimes, the virus is a perfect example. Yeah. I'm worried about the virus. I can't even go outside. I can't do anything. Here's what you can do. You can focus on you, number one, which most everybody needs to, way more than they are. Focus on you. Get that really good. And then you can focus on the 5 people around you. Yeah. And if you do that if you just do that alone, everybody did it, the world will take care of itself. The world's problems will take care of itself. Yeah. And that's what you can do. You can't do you can't worry about what Trump's doing. That's nothing. I mean, that's not affecting, right? You and I right now. I don't know what Trump's doing.
Yeah, I don't either.
And it doesn't affect us what we're doing right here. Yeah, but it's not affecting us. It's not really going to affect our lives. Really, right? Yeah. I mean, he made policies or whatever, but right now, no. I still can go out and move. You can come out and move with me. We can still drink our coffee. Yeah. We can still educate people around us, and I could choose what I want to be angry about.
Yeah, I love that. Last but not least, Steve, I know you have all this training and to start putting this out into the world. I think very soon. Where can people find you or connect with you?
Just go to Facebook and just Steve Vierra right now.
Yeah,
and friend me and maybe send me a message because if I get all these friend requests, there's always the fake profiles out there.
Right.
And especially because you're going to come from somebody I don't know, right?
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
It's a friend's request.
Hey, I saw you.
Maybe that someone might be friends of yours, and that's great. That's at least a start. And I might go beyond that, at some point, I would like to. But for right now, that's that. And, I have a lot of, if you want an education, and this is, I guess this is selfish or this is whatever, just go look at all my posts.
Yeah.
Right? And some of it you may not agree with. It's not really anything political. I don't get into that's worthless. There's this stuff about critical thinking, which I think is huge because we lack critical thinking in society.
Yeah.
And I think people just need to learn about that or see what's kind of happening in that aspect. But a lot of it is just different things about health.
Yeah.
Stuff I've posted, a lot of stuff I shared, and stuff I go back to read. I share it so I have it in my timeline so I can go back and read it. But sometimes I scroll down, like, oh, just look at mine, and then scroll down. I was like, the amount of information somebody who really wants to could learn just right here. And what's so good about that is it's taken me 30 years to learn what I learned.
Yeah.
And I do this, besides moving, I may study 1 to 3 hours a day, every day about health, right? That's average. Probably lower, but I'm saying just over time. And I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
To get it from me that I'm just putting down some, I think, very valuable stuff. It's getting all the fluff out. It's just my 30 years can be condensed to, I don't know, months or a year or whatever, or days for somebody else that you just get like the crux of it.
Yeah.
The crux.
Yeah.
And then you could decide if you want to try to do that, which I think that's how you learn. That's why I spend a lot of finance. I just go after to look at the big guy. What are they doing? How did they get where they're at? Right? You don't wish, oh, these guys are up there and I'm down here. That's not what you do. How'd they get to where they're at? Yeah. How'd that guy get over there? How'd that guy get the large arms? Or whatever, how'd that happen? Go and ask them, research it, and then try it.
Yeah.
Boom.
Critical.
Critical.
Love it. Steve Vierra, thank you, my friend, for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the show. It absolutely means the world to me, and I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity. If any of this resonates with you, feel free to go to iTunes and leave me a 5-star review. There you can follow me, or you can follow me on Spotify. And if you're interested in life coaching or health coaching, you can find me at joelevancoaching.com. And I'd love to connect with you there. Thanks, and continue to be amazing.